Guys, admit that you still shudder at the memory of scary stories from your youth. Every child has heard stories of maniacs, ghosts, and alien abductions. And all of these stories are true, of course, because they didn't happen to anyone, but to a friend of your cousin's friend. Isn't that proof enough? But before we begin, subscribe to our channel, give us a like and share the video on social media. Next, we'll tell you 19 reasons for popular American urban legends. Bunny Man. Legend. Since the early 1970s, rumors have been circulating in the Washington, D.C. area that a man in a rabbit costume indiscriminately attacks strangers with an axe, usually under the Virginia overpass, now known as the Rabbit Man Bridge. Reality. This legend is based on two officially recorded incidents in Burke, Virginia, which occurred shortly before Halloween in 1970. In the first case, a married couple parked in the area around midnight and suddenly heard someone walking near their car. Moments later, someone smashed the passenger window and a man in a bunny suit appeared in front of them and told them, "You are on private property, and I have your license plate number." In their haste to leave, the couple found the axe on the floor of the car on the passenger side. The second incident occurred 10 days later. While walking through the area, a security guard approached an unfinished house and noticed a man dressed as a rabbit inside who began waving a long axe and shouting, "You are trespassing. If you don't get out of here, I'm going to break your head in." After these incidents, dozens of reports of encounters with the Rabbit Man surfaced, but only 2 were confirmed. The Rabbit Man was never caught. Awakening in the morgue. Legend. A man is pronounced dead, a tag is hung on his leg, he is closed in a bag and placed in a cold box in the morgue. The person then wakes up in pitch darkness and realizes with horror that they have been falsely declared dead. Reality. In 2011, an 80-year-old Los Angeles woman was pronounced dead from cardiac arrest and placed in a morgue box. When the funeral home staff came to collect the body, they found her lying face down. She was covered in cuts and bruises, her bag was half unzipped, and her nose was broken. None of these injuries were present when she entered the morgue. It is supposed that she inflicted all the wounds on herself after regaining consciousness, and that the true cause of her death was frostbite and prolonged exposure to low temperatures. Buried alive. Legend. A very popular legend about a man who was buried alive intentionally, as torture, or accidentally because he was thought to be dead. Reality. Purposeful, premature burial of living people was a tactic used by the Japanese and Germans during World War II. There are also documented cases in the West where people were buried while still alive, or mistakenly recognized as dead. This was most often due to underdeveloped methods of death notification and quick funerals the next day or the same day. Slender. Legend. A skinny, tall, long-armed man in a costume indiscriminately attacks children and adults. Reality. Unlike most of the other cases described here, this is a case of parody. In other words, the legend is not based on a real event, but instead, a real incident is derived from the legend. In 2014, 2 12-year-old girls from Wisconsin, apparently believing Slender to be real, attempted to placate him by killing another 12-year-old girl. They lured their victim into the woods and left her for dead with 19 stab wounds. The 12-year-old accused Morgan Jaser later said, "Strangely, I didn't feel any remorse." Frozen woman. Legend. A woman faints outside in cold weather, freezes, then miraculously thaws and regains consciousness. Reality. In 1981, a 19-year-old girl from North Dakota named Jean Hilliard fainted outside at 22 degrees Celsius and froze so cold that she looked like a piece of meat from a deep freeze chamber. She was rushed to hospital. The girl's body was so frozen that her skin could not be pierced with a needle. But eventually she thawed, regained consciousness and made a full recovery. The doctors called it a miracle. A corpse under the bed. Legend. A motel guest notices an unbearable odor in his room and discovers a rotting corpse under the bed. Reality. This horror has become legendary thanks to Quentin Tarantino's movie, 4 Rooms, but you'd be surprised to learn that it's not the director's sick fantasy, but a real case, and not the only one. Consider. New Jersey in 1982 and 1999, Maryland in 1987, New York in 1988, Virginia in 1989, California in 1996, Missouri in 1993, and 2 cases in Florida in 1994. There have been 9 officially reported cases. Body at the bottom of the pool. Legend. Due to inattention or murky water, lifeguards and swimmers fail to notice a dead body lying at the bottom of a public pool. Reality. In 2011 in Massachusetts, a 9-year-old boy reported to lifeguards that a woman named Marie Joseph had gone underwater without ever surfacing. One of the lifeguards informed the boy that he was taking a break, and another assured him that he would check the pool in 1 or 2 minutes, but that didn't happen. People continued to swim in the murky pool water for 2 more days, and it was only 2 days later that Marie Joseph's corpse was found at the bottom of the pool. Green Man. Legend. For the past several decades, it has been rumored in western Pennsylvania that a man known as the Green Man or Charlie without a face can be seen on the street late at night. Reality. In an electrical accident, Raymond Ray Robinson lost his eyes, nose, ear, and arm when he was just 8 years old. It so disfigured him that he would only go out for walks late at night so people wouldn't scare him or laugh at him. His skin was so badly damaged by the accident that it was rumored to have a nauseating green tint. Though he may have unwittingly frightened those who encountered him late at night, he never attacked anyone, and the townspeople often intimidated and mocked him. A man wakes up and realizes his kidney has been stolen. Legend. A tourist visiting an exotic place strikes up a friendship with a stranger in a bar, returns to the hotel with him, and then loses consciousness. When he wakes up, he feels a hellish pain in his side, the result of a stolen kidney, and a note advising him to go to the hospital if he wants to stay alive. Reality. In 2008, a kidney business was uncovered in India that operated according to the scenario described above. Gang members would find poor people, befriend them, and then slip sleeping pills into their drinks. After the victim fell asleep, a kidney was removed and sold to the rich and needy. A corpse wrapped in a rug. Legend. People find a rolled-up rug and discover a corpse inside. Reality. In 1984, 3 Columbia University students found a rug in Midtown Manhattan, brought it home, unwrapped it, and discovered the corpse of a black man with 2 bullet wounds to the head inside. A similar case occurred with a rolled-up gymnastics mat in Georgia in 2013. A severed penis in a pool drains. Legend. A man tries to masturbate with a pool drain and loses his manhood. Reality. Although he didn't lose his penis, a 33-year-old Florida man was found in the middle of the night trying to rape a hotel pool drain. The pool pump was immediately shut off, but the trapper's penis had swelled so much during his attempts to make love to the drain that it took 40 minutes to free him and rush him to the hospital. Elevator door guillotine. Legend. When trying to enter or exit an elevator, the doors close, the person is trapped and loses their head. Reality. In 2014, a young mother, Olga Talinina, found herself trapped between the doors of an old elevator and was decapitated in front of her 2-year-old son. Cases like this happen all over the world, and they are all due to elevator malfunction. Halloween hangers. Legend. What others think is a Halloween decoration is actually a real hanging man. Reality. In 2005, a 42-year-old Denver woman hanged herself from a tree just before Halloween, but passersby thought it was just an artistic decoration. In 2009, there was an incident in California involving a passerby. The body of a suicidal man would have hung from a tree in the city's Central Park for days if it had not at one point fallen directly onto the people sitting below. In Michigan in 2001, a teenager working at a haunted house accidentally hanged himself while trying to scare customers. Maggots in the brain. Legend. One day an insect gets into a person's ear, lays eggs. After a while maggots emerge from them and make a real hell in the victim's head. Reality. After a vacation in Peru in 2013, a British tourist began to hear scratching sounds in her head, and in the morning, she found a liquid that left a mark on her pillow. Doctors found a wriggling mass of maggots just inside her ear, which could have traveled to her brain if not for timely intervention. Halloween candy upgrade. Legend. A sadistic neighbor impregnates a child's lollipop with poison or puts blades and needles in it. Reality. Despite the popularity of this legend, only one case of a person being intentionally poisoned by a Halloween lollipop has been recorded. In 1974, Texas resident Ronald Clark O'Brien, hoping to cash in on an insurance policy, soaked his son Styx's candy in cyanide, from which he died. Awakening during surgery. Legend. A patient regains consciousness during surgery and realizes to his horror that he still cannot move or scream. Reality. During a 2007 autopsy in Venezuela, 33-year-old Carlos Camejo woke up in unbearable pain as pathologists cut into his face. In 2005, during eyeball surgery, Carol Weicher regained consciousness but was paralyzed and unable to tell doctors that she was awake. Mentally, I was screaming with all my might. I felt like I had to push the table away with all my might. I was praying. I did everything I could. I was willing to sell my soul just to get up off that table. There's a woman living in your closet. Legend. This is a variation of the "you're not alone" legend, in which a homeowner notices things in their home going missing or changing their location. Reality. In 2008, a Japanese man, noticing that things in his apartment were out of place and that food was often missing from the refrigerator, installed a surveillance camera in his home. Using the video, he discovered that a 58-year-old homeless woman had been living in his closet for more than a year, as it later turned out. The man calls a prostitute, who turns out to be his daughter. Legend. This case is also a variation on a popular legend. There are also versions in which the prostitute turns out to be a wife or other relative. Reality. In 2008, a Zimbabwean man named Titus Ncube ordered a prostitute to his motel room, and the girl who came on the call turned out to be his 20-year-old daughter. Congratulations! You now have AIDS. Legend. Ever since the AIDS epidemic began in the mid-1980s, there have been rumors of people approaching people in crowded clubs, giving them a small injection, and then whispering in their ear that the victim is now a member of the AIDS Carriers Club. Reality. While there are several documented cases of such attacks where people intentionally injected their victims in an attempt to infect them with HIV, the only documented case of a person actually contracting AIDS and dying occurred in Australia in 1990 when a prisoner stabbed a guard with a needle. The unfortunate man died of complications from AIDS 7 years later. Guys, if you liked our video and you haven't subscribed to us yet, subscribe right now and share the video on social media. There will be a lot more interesting stuff in the next episodes. See you soon. Bye.